Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Sorry, it has been quite a while, almost 2 weeks now since I've put in my last video. Been quite busy at the moment, and the weather in Ireland hasn't been that great, and lots of storms, and there was no time for writing. And also I'm still waiting for some parts which I'll be making a video, so I won't say exactly what it is at the moment, but I'm waiting for those parts to come so I can actually do the videos. Today's video I'm going to show you one of the most important things that you should be doing in your bike, at least a visual checks. So if you have nothing to do, just stay with me and let's find out what it is. Back and my name is Adrian. This is 44 Degrees Motorbike Adventures. This channel I upload videos of trips, gear that I use, tools that I actually use myself, and also do maintenance videos like this one today. So in today's video I'm going to show you exactly how to do a simple maintenance on your caliper, checking your pads, checking like visual checks for like uneven wear on your pads and things like can go wrong with your brake system. So so let's go into that. So everybody well know how important the braking system is, and there are many things that can go wrong with it if you don't do maintenance often. And in this video I'm going to go through some simple maintenance that you can do, some simple checks that you can do to see if there's any other issues that you might need to address, and we'll go from there. I'm going to go, this video I'm going to split in 4 parts. I'm going to talk about the pads, and we're going to take the pads out and inspect them. I'm going to also look at the pistons. I'm going to show you how to actually clean those pistons, and I'm going to show you how to clean the housing, the padding housing, and also I'm going to talk about the brake fluid, how you bleed that. I'm not going to go through the process of bleeding the fluid because I've already done on this bike, and fortunately I didn't do a video at the time, but I will do a video next time I do that. So let's start with the pads. First of all, I just want to say to you, like this job that I'm doing doesn't require any specialized tools. You just need a wrench to take your calipers out. You might need like a few rugs and paper towels or things like that. And if you are going to bleed your system, just make sure you have towels to cover your tank, because braking fluid is corrosive, and if it gets in your tank it's going to destroy your tank, so just make sure you do that. So let me show you the braking system of Transalp 700. First of all, Transalp 700 is 2 calipers in the front, and both of them use 2 pads each, right? So if you're doing a different bike you might have a different setup, but most of what I'm going to talk today might apply to you. Taking the caliper out of a Transalp 700 is straightforward. You just take these 2 bolts here and then you slide it out. You don't need to take this one here, that's just hold the line. Also, I recommend you to have some strings or some wire, because we are going to hang in that caliper, and we don't want to be let the caliper just swinging on the brake line here. You know, it might damage a bit brake line over time, and so we use the strings. And according to the manual, you don't have to take the caliper out to take the pads. You just can take this pin here, which is the pads, and but I always find it easier to take the caliper out to insert the pad back. It's easier to do that. So straightforward, just 2 bolts, and we're going to remove that. And let me do. Okay, so we got a pair of gloves here. We got the wrench. Sorry, I got the flashlight there, might be on the. So basically what we do is take this one out, no one out. Okay. Maybe not take my hand. out. We're going to keep the nuts there. First, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten our string to a caliper. So there you go, that's our caliper out, and you can see there's two pads inside there. One is here and the other one is there, and the pin it's right here. So one thing that I made a mistake here now, so I should actually take the pin out and at least lose the pin out before I took out the caliper, because it is actually hard to do that with the caliper in your hand. So if you're doing that, just make sure you lose the screw first. I'll just put the caliper back here, it's not a big deal, and do that again. So what we're going to do is, you can see how dirty that thing is inside. Of course, it's been used all the time. But what we want to do, we can see the pads is still, there's still a little bit on the pads. Alright, so here we have the pads out. That's the pin that hold the pad in place, and it goes into this hole here. And there's a rubber at the end there, you can see right here. And pads, these are the bolts for the calipers, and these are the pads here. They go like that, exactly the way it is. And as you can see, this fine, it's not that bad. You can see it's very evenly. I'll check the other one out. Check. And you can see that one is, it's okay. We can see here, show you this one. See, there's this dot in there. Okay, so not bad. Still a lot of life. Alright, so we got the caliper out and we got the pin out as well. So what we're going to do is, we can see here that the pistons are here. It's quite a bit dirty inside, so we're going to clean that up, and after we clean, we are going to expose the pistons and then clean them as well. So also as well, what we need to do is inspect the pistons, make sure that there's not a bend, nothing, there's no rust on them, and we're going to clean as much as possible. So let's do that. So what I have here, I have a can with a toothbrush, a bit of brake fuel to clean that up, and that should do the job. Rugs here, so we can clean it out. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to put a cardboard in here, just so we don't dirt the floor, and that should be done. So our caliper started looking good, and you can see how clean it is now. With the thing that I want to say here, it's the cleaning process here is not to make your caliper look good. Of course, is a bonus, but the cleaning here is to remove all this gunk that gets stuck inside here. And the main things that cause like a caliper pistons to seize is dirt that gets inside of it, and start corroding like the seals, and then water gets in, and then rust settles in, and then basically your caliper pistons are not retracting properly anymore. Now we're going to expose them to clean them. You want to do the cleaning inside first before you expose your pistons. The reason is you don't want to actually start cleaning your pistons with the housing inside here all dirty, and then when you actually put the pistons back in place again, moving all that dirt inside of your pistons, so it defeats the purpose. So clean first like the housing here, and then expose your pistons, and then do the cleanup there. So let me show you how to do it. To expose the pistons, first we need to put something inside the caliper here, one of the pads, just to stop the pistons to fully come out, because if they pop out, you're going to have oil come all over the place, and then you're going to have to bleed your system, and also you're going to have to refuel with the oil. And So let me just put one thing here a second. Alright, so what I've done is I put one of the pads inside, and then I put the pin to hold the pad in place. So what we're going to do now is the pistons, we're going to press the brake lever, and slowly we're going to extract the pistons from inside of like the caliper. The reason we put the pad here is because I said we don't want the pistons to pop out, and they can come out as far as the pad here. It shouldn't be no problem. So we're gonna take them out little by little and just see. Let's do that. We're gonna press brake lever a bit more, and check again. You can see that one came out now, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to put the screwdriver in the back here as well. I don't want them to come out that far. And then we can, now we can see that I put the screwdriver in the back. The pistons has come out quite far now, and I think we can still do a little bit more, right? So you see them there. Let's try a tiny bit more out. You could do a little bit more, but I don't think there's a need for that, and should be far enough for you to clean. So let me take the pad out. We'll take the pin and the pad out now. Pin, pad out, and now what we need to do here now is inspect the pistons. We need to look for corrosion. If there's any corrosion, you should address that. You might have a leak on your seals and water is getting inside of the caliper. This is a good idea if you're to do this if your pistons are not retracting properly. Let's say when you brake, two of them will retract and the one continues to stay the same, and that can cause your pads to wear uneven, and that's one of the reasons why you should inspect your pads when you take it out. Because if it's breaking uneven, wearing uneven, one of the reasons could be that your pistons are not retracting properly. The second reason could be your motor, your rotor, it's actually warped, so you need to look at that as well. But this is the first thing that you should do. This looks good to me. It's just going to do a little bit of cleaning. There's not much rusting there. There's nothing. I'm just going to clean a little bit, and then we can actually put them back in place. So let me do that. So that's all clean there, and all we're going to do is put this pistons back in place. To do that, you just put the pads back here and push them in. They will go quite easy. And you can also put the screwdriver in the back of the pads, not in the part that the pads hit the rotor, but just in the back plate, and push the pistons back into the housing. Okay, so also cleaned the clip for the pads, clean the pin that hold the pads. We're going to grease that with silicone grease. And the pads itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat them with this liquid moly anti-squeak spray. If you don't have that, you can always use copper greaser. It's the same thing. So you can spread that in the back of your pads. Make sure it doesn't get anywhere in the surface of the pad that contacts the rotor, and don't let anything in there. And so we're going to put this back. The pistons are already put in place. Retract them. As I say, it's just a matter to push them in with the pad. And let's do that. So we got the pads in place, the pin in the back down there, and the clip down the bottom.
just make sure you put the clip properly. Okay, there's a way to do that, and it only goes one way anyway, so if you actually put it in the wrong way, it's going to hit the pistons. So make sure when you take it out, just keep an eye and see the way it was. And to put the pads, you just put the pads in place and you squeeze the pad a bit, and that would allow you to put the pin back in place. This is it, just like now to put the caliper back in place, put the bolts back in, and that's one of the parts done. The cleaning process, the cleaning of the pistons, checking of the pads, and the cleaning of the housing, of the padding housing, and we just need to put the caliper in place. Now I'm going to show you, before I do that, how you actually bleed this system here. Alright, so the caliper is in place now, guys. So, and the only thing now we need to do is to squeeze your brake system. You squeeze your lever here on the brake to just put the pistons back in place. Just keep your squeeze. Once you see that's getting harder, once it gets hard enough, then you're fine. Just make sure you do that before you take it back to a ride, okay? And that should be it. Alright everybody, so caliper is actually in place now, and so what I'm going to do now is going to show you exactly how you bleed in your braking system. I'm not going to go to the procedure of bleeding the system itself because I've done already in this bike, but I'm just going to show you how the procedure is. It's very straightforward. There's no major things that can happen. So first of all, the bleeding valve of Transalp 700 is this one here, and basically what you do is there's a cap and you take it off. All right, there is a thread screw underneath here of the valve, and that's where you use to open the valve. Okay, before you do this, make sure you cover your tank and your paint work with cloth, because the brake fluid is corrosive and it can damage your paint work. Okay, also open up the reservoir cap. Okay, and you can take those two screws on the top and take the cap off. Now, as I say, you don't need any specialized tool to do this job, but to make your life easier, you might need a friend to come over. So get some cold beers and get your friend up to help you out. So once you connect the hose into the valve, have your wrench here all the time, okay, and connect the hose into a bucket to collect your old oil. What you're going to do is you're going to ask your friend to come here and pump it up the brake lever a couple times to pressurize the system. Have the bottle of a new brake fluid closer to him, so you can top up this. Okay, and make sure you use brake fluid from a new bottle. Don't reuse brake fluid, because brake fluid absorbs water from the air. Okay, so you don't want to use an old brake fluid that's been sitting down there for almost a year. So it's just buy enough that you can do the job, and the rest you can use to clean your calipers like I did today. So once the system is pressurized, what you're going to do is you're going to ask your friend to hold the brake, right? And when he holds the brake, you open the valve and start bleeding the system. You're going to see the old oil is going to come out. Once it's stopped, you turn the valve off, right? And then you ask your friend to release the brake. And you're going to do that a couple times, and after that you're going to ask your friend to check the level of the reservoir. If the level is low, you can add more fluid inside here, but just make sure that it doesn't empty, otherwise you end just adding air into the system. Okay, and then when you do that, you'll be doing this for a couple times until you see the new oil coming out here. And once the new oil is coming out, Make sure there's no air bubbles. Okay, if there is air bubbles, keep topping up and keep pressurizing the system, and keep doing that procedure up until you see a clear oil coming out and no air bubbles. Once you're happy to that, close the valve, put the cap back on again. No, keep the dust out, and ask your friend to pump the brake a few more times. Check the level of the oil in the reservoir, and if it needs to be added more, add it, and then you can put back the cap. A lot of people tended to replace the seal of this cap here, but if you're checking that the seal is fine, I don't see the point to replace. I mean, I have changed my oil before, and this seal here is still the old one, still working fine. For the back brake is the same procedure that I showed you here, except the reservoir is on the side, so you need to take the panel out there, which is one of these panels here. Okay, so on the other side. Okay, so you take it out, and that's how you're gonna add your oil and use the back brake to pressurize the system. This is it, guys. It's a simple procedure to do. There's not much to do in that. The only thing that can go wrong is you can add more air inside of the system, but if you do that, it's not the end of the world. You can always add more oil and flush it out. Alright everybody, so this is it. This is how you do a braking system maintenance, and I hope this video would help you encourage anybody to do the same. I hope you guys stay safe and ride safe, and I'll see you guys the next time. Take care.